Hey guys, Buff from Game Bed. Today we're going to have a video for part 3 of our Modern Warfare 2 weapon wishlist video. In part 1, I'll link these down below in the description box. Part 1 and 2, we covered in part 1 the assault rifle list, which was a very large list, and we covered a lot of the conversions there. We went pretty in-depth, and then for part 2, we covered the light machine gun wish list for Modern Warfare 2. Again, pretty decent list. We went pretty in-depth with the conversions and things in that video as well. Today we're going to be covering the submachine gun category / PDW or personal defense weapon category. These two, just combining them because the submachine gun and PDW relatively similar and fill the same role for that class or category of weapons. So we're going through a decent amount of these today. Won't get too deep into the conversions available for them because a lot of them really don't have too many conversions. I will mention some of them. However, a lot of these are very straightforward builds minus some, but we did see a lot of these in Modern Warfare 2019. But again, there are some additional ones here that I think would make really good additions to the game. Now, there's a little, I guess, a caveat here, because some of the pistols I'll cover, I guess you could technically put into this category in some respect, as well vice versa with some of the weapons you'll see here could go into the pistol class category. Again, that's kind of up to the developers. You guys can let me know down below if you think something on this list should be categorized as a pistol. And then when we get to the pistol video itself, you guys can let me know if something should be classified as a submachine gun. I think when we look at fully automatic pistols, something like that should probably be in this category and actually count as an overkill weapon if that's how you're going to run it. But again, that's just semantics. That's going to be up to the developers. But to start this video off, we'll jump right into it here with the submachine gun / PDWs, and we're going to cover first the Knights Armament Company PDW. So the Knights Armament Company PDW is a personal defense weapon firing 6x35mm. Again, developed by Knights Armament Company, and the design was in 2006. It hasn't been adopted by any military or I guess any military units to my knowledge. Probably some usage within the police departments. However, the cartridge, like I said, is the 6x35mm, as well as the 300 Whisperer and the 300 Blackout. It's been adapted to, and it is a really neat looking gun. You may have seen it in, I believe, Dave Bautista's new movie, that zombie movie on Netflix. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it was featured in that movie. We've seen it in a lot of movies as well. But again, Knights Armament Company always producing pretty really, I guess, well respected and good looking firearms, especially here in the modern age. So a nice entry from them, from Knights Armament Company, would be a really good option here for the Knights Armament Company PDW. Next up, moving on, we're going to be covering the Heckler & Koch MP7. So the MP7, again, this is one of those weapons we did see in Modern Warfare 2019. And in this version here for Modern Warfare 2, it should be at a base, I believe, is the MP7A1 with the conversion and the maybe a blueprints or cosmetic overhauls with some of the attachments to turn it into the A2. Now, the A1 did have the built-in foregrip on it, which could be, I guess, pulled down. It would fold up as a vertical foregrip and could be pulled down to be used. So the MP7A1 and the A2, obviously, like I said, we've seen this before. No real conversions out of this, same as in 2019's version. However, it is a really small, sleek PDW / SMG firing the 9x19 Parabellum round, or excuse me, not a 9x19. I thought it was. I thought it actually also took this caliber, but no, it is actually only a 4.6x30mm. For some reason, I was thinking there was a conversion for a 9x19, but it is not. This is a only firing 4.6x30mm. Again, PDW, which we have seen in previous Call of Duties, that being Modern Warfare 2019. So it should be as the A1, and then with a conversion with cosmetics and attachments to the A2. Next up, we're going to cover another returning weapon here, being the H&K, or the Heckler & Koch MP5. So again, this is one of those ones that we saw in 2019. I think basically everything they did in that game should be this exact same. We did see a lot of the variants that you could make. I believe we could see the MP5 A2, A3, the SD, MP5K, MP5 SF. There's a lot of different variants for this that they could put in here, as well as the MP510 with that 10mm conversion. I really loved the conversions for this. I think this is, as far as Modern Warfare 2019 went, this was one of those weapons that had, I think, probably one of the most conversions that you could make out of it for the SMG category especially. So this is a weapon that I really want to see return. Now, this one does fire that 9x19 Parabellum round, but again, it does have the capability to have a version for the 10mm, which was heavily used by the FBI in the 90s, as well as the 40 Smith & Wesson. So it'd be nice to see all those variants return via conversions and different attachments within the game. Next up, another H&K weapon. Now, this is a weapon that was not in Modern Warfare 2019, but a weapon that we have seen in previous Modern Warfare titles, that being the H&K UMP45. So I think this is something that we really missed out on with Modern Warfare 2019. They put the LWRCI, I believe it was called, which is the Americanized version of this, basically in the game, and that's a very new weapon. I think the iconic history of the UMP45 deserves to be back in a Modern Warfare game, and to be honest, it's just a much better looking weapon. And the LWRC, or whatever it was called in Modern Warfare 2019, was just a really horrible weapon, especially when you try to use it in something like Warzone. It was very, very inaccurate, and it had the long barrel attachment. It just was a really goofy weapon that I feel nobody really used outside of the first few days it was released in multiplayer. So have the real old school OG H&K UMP in the game. This could be introduced at base with the MP9, which again is that 9x19 Parabellum version of this, which is mainly used for police application. And I think whichever version you introduce, there would be a conversion. So in this case, we start with the MP9 and then have an ammo conversion attachment available to turn it into the 45 ACP or the UMP45. So that's the weapon I really want to see. That's probably, I think, like I said, a weapon we've seen a lot of modern shooters, especially the old Modern Warfare series. It would kind of be a shame if we don't get this back just for nostalgia purposes. But again, this is one of those weapons that was always a blast to use in Modern Warfare 2, and I believe it was also in Modern Warfare 3. I'd really like to see it return here in Modern Warfare 2 2022. Next up, another returning weapon from the OG Modern Warfare trilogy, as well as Modern Warfare 2019. However, this time I really want to see it in its real form. I know in the first Modern Warfare 2019, they got around some of the looks of the weapon due to maybe it was copyright issues or whatever. But I want to see the Chris Vector return here with the proper look for it, with the magwell and the recoil system on there. This is a very unique weapon, firing 45 ACP at a very high rate at 1,100 to 1,200 rounds per minute. And this is a weapon that is a submachine gun / PDW developed by TDI, or Transformal Defense Industries, and it has that unconventional delayed blowback system, as well as the inline design, which is that big bulky portion that you see where the magwell is, which is there to reduce. There's a proprietary design from TDI to mitigate and virtually reduce recoil as a whole. So in this game, I would like to see the Chris Vector in 45 ACP, as well as an attachment to change it up to 9x19mm as well, which is what it does accept. So there's actually a couple different ammo conversions for this. I think the most relevant would be the 45 ACP and the 9x19. However, you could make a case to include the 9x21mm instead of the 9x19, just because there's quite a few 9x19mm submachine guns throughout Call of Duty history. So the Chris Vector in 45 ACP and probably 9x19 or 19x21mm. 9x21mm is what I want to see in this game. And again, I want it to be the same design that we saw in Modern Warfare 2. That was just a very aesthetic and sexy looking weapon. I want to see it return here for Modern Warfare 2 in 2022. Next up, the FMP90. This is one of those weapons that, again, another iconic submachine gun / PDW within the modern era, and especially of the modern era of shooters for the FPS. And again, this fires a very unique, same as the MP7, a very unique cartridge for an SMG PDW, that being the 5.7x28mm. So this is actually classified mainly as a PDW. However, PDW, SMG, they're kind of very similar in usage, which is why they were going to be classified in the same video here. A lot of them kind of fall into both categories, like this one does as well. But again, this was introduced in the 1990s as part of that bid to kind of replace the MP5 with a different caliber, because MP5 wasn't penetrating through body armor at the time. That's where you see the FBI adopt it as an MP510 with a 10mm. But here, the FMP90 was developed with that different, larger cartridge, the 5.7x28mm, to get through that body armor. And again, it has a very unique magazine feed system, and just a very unique, futuristic looking weapon developed by FN in Belgium. Very very underrated weapon as far as how it performed in Warzone. Very effective, something that's underused. But again, a really nice looking weapon, and the rate of fire of it is at 850 through 1100 rounds per minute. So it's very, very effective with the rate of fire category, as well as the caliber, which again is a pretty large caliber comparatively to the 9x19 that the MP5 fires. So it's odd to me that the MP5 for some reason outperforms this weapon in a lot of the games. But P90 coming back, I would love to see it, especially with what it had here in Modern Warfare 2019 with the customized optics that we see for the FMP90 in real life. I think was a really nice addition to the game. Next up, the PP19 Vitez. So this is one that we have not seen in Call of Duty history. For some reason, they keep putting this old PP19 Bizon, which is just an ugly looking weapon that, to my knowledge, was never actually had any practical usage within the Russian military. It wasn't produced in large numbers. It's very scarce today to even get your hands on. The PP19 Vitez was developed off of that original design, and this, instead of having a helix mag feed, has a standard stick mag feed. And again, this was a design off of the PP19 Bizon. This is the PP19 Vitez. It can be customized with Zeneco attachments to look very, very sleek and modernized and aesthetically pleasing. It's going to fire that 9x19 Parabellum. So again, we're having another 9x19, which is typically what you're going to see with a lot of these SMGs. This was developed in 2004 by the Izhmash factory. It's based on the AK-74 type design, as well as made to replace and some components of the PP19 Bizon. The nickname for this is Vitez, in Russian translates to Knight. So again, a really nice looking weapon here, and there's a couple different variants of it as well. You have the Vitez SN, PPK-20, Saga 9, and the KP9. But again, this is a modernized SMG from the Russian military, which replaced the PP19 Bizon, and to my knowledge, this has actually seen service and usage, unlike the PP19 Bizon, and can be heavily modified with Zeneco handguards, buttstocks, rails. It also, I believe, has slots for dovetail mounts for optics, etc. So this is a really aesthetically pleasing weapon. Hopefully, Infinity Ward puts this in the game instead of the PP19 Bizon, which really doesn't have any practical usage anymore in the modern era. And it was replaced by the Vitez. So hopefully we see that really awesome looking weapon that I would like to see heavily decked out with Zeneco attachments. Next up, another Russian submachine gun / PDW, and this is one of those ones that I would argue you could even put in the pistol category. However, given that it is fully automatic, I believe it should be in the PDW / SMG category, that being the PP2000. So this is really kind of more so a machine pistol. It's very small, same size as a pistol, but again, because it is fully automatic, and the caliber is 9x19, only 600 rounds per minute. It really is more so should be in line with a PDW and an SMG. So this is one of those ones that, again, very compact, very small. You can also have a foldable stock on there as well, so it can be carried very compact, and then you can fold out the stock to have it to mount on your shoulder, obviously. And it does kind of have a built-in grip within the trigger guard as well. So it's a really nice compact design. Like I said, firing that 9x19 Parabellum and 600 rounds per minute. It's a really nice looking weapon. I think we did see this in the original Modern Warfare 2. It has been featured in some other games as well, like Battlefield 3 and maybe Battlefield 4. But again, this is one of those weapons that's a really neat looking weapon, and I think would have a really cool following in Modern Warfare 2 as well. It kind of belongs there, given that it is more of a modern design for the Russian military for a PDW. Next up, another returning weapon, the Bruger Arma APC9. So this is kind of was selected by the U.S. military to my last of my knowledge that I checked on this last year, to replace the U.S. military, or be accepted as the U.S. military's official SMG. So this is going to be firing, again, surprise, surprise, 9x19 Parabellum. However, it does take 40 Smith & Wesson, 10mm auto, as well as 45 ACP, and it does have a very high rate of fire, actually coming in very close to what we see with the Chris Vector, coming in around 1,100 rounds per minute, depending on the caliber. But typically 1,100 to 1,000 to 1,100 or even 1,150 rounds per minute based on the caliber. Like I said, a nice design, modern design. Again, another returning weapon here is the APC 9 or the APC 10, APC 40, based on whichever caliber you want. It's a nice looking weapon. Again, one of those underrated weapons from Modern Warfare 2019. Next up, another B&T design, that being the Bruger Arma MP9. So this is one from the original Modern Warfare 2. Again, heavily used. We see this used by a lot of Russian Spetsnaz units through training and things like that. And it's kind of a weapon of choice for them, especially by the Russian Sober units, which are kind of like the SWAT team units. But the Bruger Arma MP9 is a 9mm pistol with a pretty decent rate of fire. Again, firing 9x19 Parabellum, also capable of taking the 6.5x25mm and 45 ACP. The rate of fire is going to be 900 to 1,100 rounds per minute. And again, this is a very compact, basically should be classified same as the PPE 2000 as a machine pistol, but it would fall into kind of the SMG / PDW category here because it is fully automatic with a very high rate of fire. Another weapon here that does have a built-in grip and can be typically has a rail system on it, easily able to accept optics, very modular type weapon, as well as you can put stocks on there as well. So again, another really nice weapon. I would really like to see this in the game with different magazine conversions, as well as magazines that can take up to, I believe, 30 rounds in real life. I'm sure, given Modern Warfare, we'll probably put some sort of drum option on there for 40 to 50 rounds, depending. Next up, a Russian design, the SR2 Verisk. Now, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. This is, again, a PDW or an SMG, firing a 9x21mm round at 950 rounds per minute. It's a Russian design, very similar to kind of the PP2000 and the MP9. It does typically have a built-in foregrip on there. Very compact in design with a foldable stock option there as well. And it does accept optics on there, as well as, I believe, you can get suppressors on there as well. So again, very small, compact, mobility would be great. However, there is a decent amount of modularity on there. It does accept some rails systems on the front of the barrel as well for lasers, things like that, and that foldable buttstock. So that's a really nice option. The SR2, I don't believe we've seen in any Call of Duty game to date. I would really like to see that make an appearance, firing that 9x21mm. Next up would be the Uzi Pro. So the Uzi Pro, again, this is something we've seen the Uzi in a lot of Call of Duty games. However, the Uzi Pro is a more modernized version of this. And again, it's a weapon we really saw. We could kind of make this through a lot of the blueprints in Modern Warfare 2019, but I would like to see an official Uzi Pro. The only conversions for this, again, would be ammo-wise, that being either coming at base at 9x19 or 9x21 IMI, with conversions for the 41 Action Express. 45 ACP would be good options as well. The longer barrel lengths on there, I think, were a little bit ridiculous looking in Modern Warfare 2019. I'd like to see it as a nice compact SMG with different ammo conversions available, and perhaps the bigger suppressor again for that iconic Uzi design. However, having the Uzi Pro at base with the ammo attachments that we discussed would be a good option. I think staying away from these older weapons from Modern Warfare 2 would be a good option, and just come straight out with the most recent Uzi Pro. Let me know what you guys think about this list down below. That's really all I had. There's some other ones here that I think we'll cover in the pistol category. Like I said, that you can make an argument that should be in game categorized as PDWs or SMGs. We'll have to see what the developers do with that, if they do include those. However, I think for gameplay purposes, that's probably the case. But again, we'll cover those, and I'll mention those when we get to the pistol video as well. But let me know what you think of this list. Did I miss anything? Again, decent amount of conversions you can make there. Mainly we're looking at ammo conversions. You're not typically going to be making any brand new weapons from these weapons that we're seeing here. However, also keep in mind, for some of the assault rifle lists, we did go over some conversions to SMGs, such as the AUG to the 9mm AUG, like we saw, the SIG MCX to the MPX, which again, PDW SMG conversions were in that video. So go ahead and check that out down below. If you're enjoying the content, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Till next time, Buffner Gaming, out.